Driving, and today I'm at the wheel of the prettiest Morris Marina you'll ever see. Well, that's not strictly true. I'm driving a very low volume British sports car, designed to look like one of the most popular and favourite British sports cars of the pre and post-war years, the MG TF. But this isn't an MG TF, this is a Naylor TF. If you thought Jowett was the only sports car ever to come out of Yorkshire, you were wrong, because also, very briefly, there was Naylor. Now this car is currently for sale at Stone Cold Classics at Rootham in Kent. So check out the link in the description below, and if you like reviews of unusual, different, interesting cars, then smash, do it right now, hit that subscribe button immediately, along with the like button, because I know you're going to enjoy this one.
Proud to be sponsored by Diamond Bright, the car care products that have been keeping the furious fleet looking their best for a long time already. To find all you need to keep your car clean and protected, follow the link below to diamondbright.co.uk.
Hello, welcome to Furious Driving, and yes, as I say, this is either the world's most pretty, extravagant Morris Marina or the fastest, newest MG TF, but whatever it is, it's not a kit car, and we need to be very clear on that. Absolutely, it's a low volume sports car. So let's take a look around the Naylor TF. So the Naylor Car Company was named after its creator, Alistair Naylor, and he had help from a guy called Alan Staniforth creating this car, basically from parts by parts, and apparently also using some original pressing machines. It was designed to recreate as faithfully as possible the classic MG TF. So the looks, the proportions are all as close as possible as could be achieved using the modern running gear that's underneath the car. But what is underneath here might actually come as a bit of a surprise, because not the most obvious sports car donor, this is running on a Morris Marina. So mechanically, from the front, we've got McPherson independent front suspension, which is a good thing and certainly a step up from the original MG of days of yore. Under the bonnet though, we've got a 1.7 litre O series taken straight from the Marina/Ital. Moving backwards, we have got the rear live axle with coil springs from the Marina as well. So an interesting mix of fairly basic machinery, making quite an interesting looking car. In terms of construction, it is a proper classic British sports car, because we've got a solid steel chassis. Well, I say solid, it's a ladder, it's not like an entire slab, over the top of which we've got a ash frame body with steel panels. So traditional, old school, like a Morgan. In fact, because this thing is very, very well appointed, it's Connolly leather, and it's 40 quid less than a Morgan +8 injection back in 1985 when it was launched. Now it does have the weird centre hinge bonnet that pre-war cars and early post-war cars were fitted with, but massive advantage, we've now got push buttons to open the thing, so that's really, really nice. Has a strap to stop it falling back and scratching on the side, which I've always hated. And underneath here we have got the O series engine, making a total of 77 horsepower and a top speed of 95 miles an hour. Now this car is quite interesting. First of all, it was signed by the creator, Alistair Naylor. Secondly, we've got the fact it was built in Bradford, Yorkshire, the model number 1750, car number 80. We've even got the name who it was supplied to, Mrs. G. Bowden. Well, that's not 100% accurate, because I know the history of this car is a little different. Date in 1986 it was built, and it was hand built by these three gentlemen, David Slinger, Derek W. Batty and John Pritchett. They all put it together. And there's our other chassis and engine information, and there is our 1700 O series. Now you might expect a car that cost a smidge under £14,000 in 1986 to have fuel injection on it, but no, we've still got a single SU carburettor lurking down here, although this inlet manifold it's bolted to does look suspiciously like a handmade crafted item rather than an off-the-shelf BL part. Right, let's take a look around the inside of this car with this rich Corinthian leather, Connolly leather, very much the same thing probably. First of all, I'm fascinated by these door handles, which I'm trying to work out what they're from. The hell is that? I am trying to work out what they're from. They're familiar, but I can't place them. It's a squeezable insert and a solid outside. There's something BL probably, or maybe Ford, but I don't know. Let's have a look inside. Maybe someone can answer that in the comments. Now, so I open the door up and we have got the Naylor Cars PLC footstep over a nice metal door frame. Obviously it's all wood underneath here. You can kind of feel the change when you knock different parts. You can tell where the frame is underneath the metal skin. The door card is very, very simple indeed. We do have a nice door pocket just there, and the simplest of simple door releases, little chrome button, and up top here, instead of having a window winder, what we have here is a knurled nubbin that you can use to take off a side screen, and a little post back here which is used for inserting said side screen. The seats are delicious. Ox blood red, do we call it that? I think we shall do. Connolly hide, superbly soft, very supportive, proper sports seats, and a lovely black leather steering wheel with matching red stitching, and of course the Naylor logo here in the centre. I can hear a Spitfire, but there's low cloud today and I can't see it. Now looking across this dashboard, it is a lovely piece of walnut. It's very narrow. You look at it from outside the car and you realise quite how narrow cars of this era really were. I say this era, by which I mean the 1940s, not the 1980s. Now, being a low volume manufacturer, a lot of the stuff is either off a shelf or parts bin kind of stuff. So we have got our warning lights taken from a Marina possibly, or some other Austin Rover Group product. We've got switchgear also from Austin Rover Group products. I'm not sure about the gauges. I don't know if these are going to be parts, store parts that have been acquired. We've got a clock over on the very far left, little glove box which has got flock lining and even a nice bit of polish and lacquer on the back of that door. Fuel gauge, voltmeter, a switch for the interior fan, and switches or sliders for our direction and heat, which I think is taken straight from the Austin Rover BL parts bin. Our oil is just there, oil pressure, rev counter, speedo, and water temperature. So all the essentials, and of course hazard lights. And being a carburetted car, we still have a choke down here. Incredible. You'll wonder where the headlights and the ignition switch are. Well, the rocker type headlight switch, familiar to anyone who's driven certain BL products, is down here along with the ignition barrel. I think it's a steering column taken from the Marina but mounted way below the dashboard in this application. We've got modern for the 1980s stalks, wipers here on the right hand side with the washer, and we've got our high beams, indicators, and of course horn here. Oh, excited puppy, it's like a little puppy. Moving down low, we have got our center console binnacle thing, all more leather clad up alongside that delicious red carpet. We have an ashtray on the left hand side and a little leather dimple on the right hand side. Don't get those mixed up, otherwise you're going to set fire to your leather. A Blaupunkt Cambridge M23 radio cassette, very expensive back in the 1980s, or possibly 90s when that was retrofitted. I love the turnable extra dials for bits and pieces. 4-speed gearbox lifted straight from the Marina. 4-speed up for reverse. There we go. And of course a big old handbrake. All good stuff. T-shelf wise, well, in for disappointment. We have a little area up here we can perhaps put the odd button or two, but not a lot. You'd maybe get away with putting a sausage roll up there, but little more, certainly no drinks. Incidentally, your rear view mirror is here in the middle of the dash. Right, climbing aboard, typical pre-war sports car, old MG style. It's a bit of a cramped fit on your feet, and I'm glad I wore small shoes today because I can only just get my size 11s down in the pedal box. We have though got a proper inertia reel seat belt in here, so we'll fit that on, waggle the gear shift, dip the clutch, push the immobiliser. Coughs into life. I'll give it a tiny bit of choke because it's been sat around for a few minutes. Nice positive feel into first, and away we go. Now in a way it does feel a bit like driving a Marina, but one that's so much lighter and fresher. Being an open-top car that looks and in many ways feels like a pre-war car, the experience and openness is absolutely phenomenal because you're just so at one with the car, and of course the elements around you. The wind is everywhere. It's threatening to take my hat off. I can hear the exhaust and the engine. The chassis was tuned by Lotus apparently, although it does feel already a touch wandery and wayward, as a pre-war car would do. It's correct. The goal of this car was to make a car that looked and felt like you were driving a pre-war car, but with the modern reliability of the age of, what, the 1980s, and of course far more luxury. I gotta say, it does feel amazing. The seats are so comfy. It's a proper old-fashioned legs in front of you, sitting on the floor driving position, and the exhaust is burbling in a way that never did on a Marina. And this is one of the rarest cars you'll ever see. I suspect that everything that was built is probably still on the road, but they only made 100 of them. These things were announced in 1984, went into production in 1985, and the company folded in 1986. So there really are not that many of them kicking around the place. Now this particular car does have a fascinating history. Naylor had big plans. I mean, not only were they taking components straight from Austin Rover, these things were approved by Austin Rover, not just done under license. They had their approval and an Austin Rover warranty as well. And they were planning to export these things around the world. So this car was actually shipped brand new to Japan, where it was sent for assessment and reaction from the local populace to see what they thought of it. So for that reason, there are a couple of extra changes. It's got additional big mirrors. It's got a much bigger radiator. It's got a third thing I've forgotten. And the larger indicators you might have noticed in the front bumper. This car really is brilliant. It absolutely captures the feeling of those 1940s British sports cars that exported so successfully to America. But it adds in the reliability of a Marina. I'm saying that without irony. I mean, it's a lot more reliable. Adds a bit more comfort, but gives you all the experience. I mean, I am jouncing and bouncing over. It's not a terrible surface, but it's not the best either. You could be in nothing apart from a ladder chassis, wood frame sports car, the way this car is handling down here. And the McPherson struts do make a big difference to its civility and comfort and ease of handling. The fact it's got coil springs all round certainly do it a favour. Let's try to fall off the roundabout. Yep, that's all good. Oh, so much fun. The gearbox feels great. Only a 4-speed, but that's absolutely right for a car of the era that this is imitating. In terms of creature comforts, it is all pre-war standard. We've got a luggage rack on the boot. I say boot, it's kind of a bolt-on trunk, not exactly a full-on boot. And there is a hood. I haven't put it up because I don't have good history with fold-up car hoods. Me and them don't get on well. But trust me, it's quite easy. It's not quite MX-5, but it's easier than a Stag. Now, performance from the 1.7, it's obviously not earth-shattering. 77 horsepower, 95 miles an hour, and well, it's not a heavy car though. I say that, it's quite heavy because it's got a big solid chassis, a timber frame and metal panels, but there's not a lot of it. And the way it goes down the road, it really does feel like you're driving something 70 years old rather than 30 or 40. The problem this car had was really the image, and that's not really its own fault. The thing is, back in the 1980s, kit cars were massive because new cars were still fairly rudimentary. It was quite easy and very popular to take a car, a Sierra, a Cortina more likely, say a Cortina or an Escort or some kind of Vauxhall, strip it for its components and build it into a little sports car, a tuned buggy, all kinds of things, Jago Samurais, you name it, Duttons. They were enormous. And recreating 40s and 30s sports cars and more was not an uncommon hobby. So in a lot of people's minds, the perception was this was just yet another kit car that some bloke had lashed together in his shed. But that couldn't be further from the truth, because this was a proper hand-built in a factory sports car with main manufacturer authorization and a proper warranty, and the craftsmanship in here is superb. The carpets, the leather, everything. I mean, this car's only got 35,000 miles on it, so it's barely turned a wheel in its 40 or so, well, 35 years of existence, which is a shame. But then it's a weekend car, high days and holidays kind of thing. Because the only thing that's really assisted is the brakes, everything does have a wonderful mechanical feel that puts you really in touch with the vehicle, which is what you want from a vintage sports car. You want to feel like you're in touch with the car, in touch with the road. And that's what it does. It gives you that experience of driving a proper old school car, but in something so much newer. There were other cars that did this back in the 80s, much bigger, grander and expensive, things like the Panther, but those just err onto the side of tastelessness, whereas this just looks like a really nice classic sports car. Well, thank you for watching, and I hope you have enjoyed this ride out in this beautiful slice of retro motoring from a retro period. It's double retro. Oh, it's fantastic. I love a pre-war car, but I love the fact I could have this, have my pre-war experience and just go to the shops in it, but with just so much more comfort and reliability. It's just great. Anyway, if you've enjoyed, as always, please do hit like and subscribe, and join me again next time driving something completely different.